Hey, the Libertarian investor here with our Monday market observation. And it is January 19th. It's 12:22 p.m. and I am watching these markets. We're doing the thing that is the priority here on the Libertarian investor, and that is to get rich, to selfishly and unapologetically get rich. We're going to try to do that. What I'm going to do is give you a little bit of news from the markets today, tie that into my investments and what I'm doing. And we're going to be talking about this every week, if not several times a week, what I'm doing in my investments. We're coming out with a video here in the next few days about some of the value investments, the stocks that I'm looking at. And we'll also talk about some of the speculative investments that I'm doing. We're going to be talking about one of those today. So what's going on in the markets today, guys? And how does it have a lot to do with what we've been talking about both in my videos and interviews on this channel? So from Zero Hedge here, and this is a up-to-date news summary here. Stocks sold off and gold hit a new record as trade tensions between US and Europe erupted over Trump's push to take control of Greenland. And we say this again and again, and it is a basic principle of investing in metals and commodities and so on, that when the world situation becomes more volatile, metals go up, especially gold and silver. And that's why I've talked about in past videos that volatility is the friend of the investor. It may not be ideal for our political motivations, but as an investor, you want global volatility, and Trump is a great president for global volatility. The price of gold now is $4,675.50 an ounce. Could you imagine if we'd talked about this 2 years ago? People would have said, you're crazy. I believe it's going to 5,000 or 6,000 very, very soon. And that's just due to the global uncertainty, guys. Now, again, there are tensions between the US and Europe. Who would have thought? And of course, Norway snubbed Trump of the Nobel Peace Prize, and there are reports, guys, that the whole reason behind this little debacle of Greenland is because Trump is upset that he did not receive the Nobel Peace Prize. Put that in your pipe and smoke it for a second. While U.S. cash markets are closed for the MLK holiday, of course, today, S&P futures dropped 1.1%, and NASDAQ futures tumbled 1.4%, while Europe's STOXX 600 was on track for its worst day in 2 months, led by luxury stocks and German automakers as BMW dropped 3%. In corporate news, NVIDIA supplier Micron Technology said on ongoing memory chip shortage has accelerated over the past quarter and reiterated that the crunch will last beyond this year due to a surge in demand for high-end semiconductors required for AI infrastructure. We've talked about it a lot. Again, I am not a huge proponent of AI. I'm not really betting on AI, not least of which because I don't know a lot about technology. I'm not betting on long-term AI. And one of the main reasons, not only because there are philosophical issues and fundamental issues as to why AI cannot replace humans, because again, it does not have intuition, it does not have consciousness, but there's also a simple scarcity factor here, that the means of production are always scarce. Land is scarce, material is scarce. The materials that we use to physically make these machines are scarce. Chips are scarce. Semiconductors are scarce. And there is a scarcity, if nothing else, in surface area and resources to build these data centers. Of late, they've been talking about building data centers on the moon. I will believe it when I see it, or if not on the moon, then in space. But I think there are real constraints here in creating the kind of AI they want, the AI that will replace all humans and the AI that will end scarcity. Elon Musk recently talked about the fact that you don't need to put money away for retirement, and that within 3 years, there will be no need for surgeons anymore, so don't go to medical school. If you believe that, guys, I have a bridge I want to sell you. I think scarcity is here to stay. And again, we talk about familiarity with Austrian economics, helping you to make rational decisions. And Ludwig von Mises, in his book Human Action, said, even in the land of cocaine, and the land of cocaine was a mythical land of paradise where all of your desires could be met, there would be scarcity simply in the fact that there's time and you have to choose what activity you're going to pursue in what time, guys. So if I had all the women in the world, all the tobacco in the world, all the food in the world, I still have to choose, okay, now I'm going to have a woman, now I'm going to smoke a cigar, now I'm going to eat, and that in itself creates an array of scarcity because different people will have different choices. Again, a little understanding of Austrian economics and the fact that it boils down to human choice and human action goes a long way, and you will quickly see why this land of cocaine is not going to come about. So, about gold and silver, guys, I am not selling my silver. Of course, I did not buy a lot of gold. I think I have maybe one gold coin. I could not afford gold. I bought silver, and I did it years ago. I am not selling that silver. I believe that we are not only going to see an increase in the price of silver, we are going to see a huge scarcity in silver, and in that time, the price will go up by multiples, guys, as it has. Right now, as we speak, the price of silver is $94.48 an ounce. I think it could go to $100 in the next 2 weeks. I could be wrong. So we will continue to watch the prices of gold and the prices of silver. What else is going on? Apple Inc. retook the top spot in China after iPhone shipments jumped 28% during the holiday quarter, despite a worsening shortage of vital memory chips, according to Counterpoint research. Steve Jobs, the ghost of Steve Jobs, still lives on, and Steve Jobs did such a great service and work and innovation that even though Apple is not innovating anymore, there's no real innovation in Apple, guys, which is why I believe in the long term Apple is going to flatten out. But the innovations of Steve Jobs has kept it going for years and years, and it could keep going for another few years, the ride in Apple. Tesla Chief Executive Officer Elon Musk, or rather Tesla Chief Executive Officer Elon Musk said the electric car maker will resume work on the Dojo 3 project after making progress on the design of its A15 chip. Bayer's AG shares, and I sort of kicked myself because I bought Bayer a few years ago and sold it. Look at this. Bayer's shares surged after U.S. Supreme Court said it would hear the company's appeal in a Roundup case that could undercut thousands of lawsuits tied to the weed killer. Whatever our feelings on Monsanto, which Bayer bought, this is a good news for Bayer, and the stockholders or the stock purchasers have reflected that. Stocks around the world were not lowered by Trump's threat to impose levies on countries opposing his bid to assert authority over Greenland, which risks reigniting the tariff-fueled volatility that rattled markets in the early months of his second term. And of course, a lowering stock market is the worst nightmare of Trump. And the reason why Trump wants a Fed chief who will be his puppet and who will lower interest rates on his demand is because he wants to see market prices higher. But that is not good for the investor. That's not good for us. We want to see market prices going lower. And again, here in the next few days, I'm going to be showing you some of my picks for value investing, but I cannot invest in those companies yet because the price is artificially heightened. We don't want artificially heightened prices. And for the main reason for that is because eventually the crash is going to come, and the higher the prices, the more painful the crash. But Trump's very Keynesian, even though he doesn't really have a consistent philosophy, but his ideas do fall in line with Keynesian philosophy that says that government can eternally inflate asset prices, and of course that benefits the friends of the government, the people who are in the trough, and it is to the detriment of the rest of society. Of course, people vote against their own interests all the time. But there was a sell-off in Europe today. Of course, the markets are closed for Martin Luther King Day. So I just wanted to talk about one of our positions. And last week, as many of you know who watch this channel, I was heavily invested in LUNR. And that is, of course, Intuitive Machines. It is a company that is devising machines to go to the moon, to go to Mars and space and so on and so forth. There's been much excitement as late in LUNR. Of course, I bought it at $8, guys, and our return has tripled. And this was months ago. If you look at LUNR, in April, it was at 807. Now it is at 2158. And I've decided, because now it is sort of leveled off a bit and it is sort of flat, I've decided to liquidate 2/3 of the position. I think it is prudent. One of the maxims, the Zurich Maxims, which is a great book that I recommend you all read. It is the maxims that Swiss bankers use. One of those maxims is to always take your profits too soon. I want to take profits in LUNR because it is now almost at a year high and over a year high, and I just want to trim some of that off. So I did liquidate 2/3 of the position. I'm keeping 1/3 of the position because I believe that LUNR has a real chance to soar back to 100, 120, where it was a few years ago, because again, there's memory in that. The market does have memory that it was there once, so it could go back to that. It could also drop back to 8, and we've seen these 6-month-long cycles where LUNR will go from 8 to 14, 15, and then drop back. But it has broken through a key resistance level, I believe, of 14, 15, and it is now in the 20s. So again, we're going to be liquidating 2/3 of that position, and we can see whether I was right or wrong in doing that here in the next few days. So guys, we're going to be sharing another video with our investment ideas, and these are basically value ideas. And if you have any ideas, because I like to have conversations here, I think this is a great avenue for having a conversation, please do comment below. If you like these videos, guys, we're going to be doing weekly videos, and you've seen our interviews and other interesting content. Do subscribe to the channel and like. Again, I like the fact that our channel is very small. It provides us with a chance to have an intimate conversation. And also, it's the fact that our ideas aren't going to be jumped on and then rendered useless by the market. So if our channel gets too big, I might start panicking. But since we're now small, I can freely share everything that I'm doing because I know that the world is not going to try to imitate it. So guys, till very soon, this is Javier with the Libertarian Investor, wishing you a great trading week.